A nice interview setup is the indicator for a great cinematographer. Hello everybody, my name is Marco Bagnoli. I'm a cinematographer and today we talk about interview setups. So this is the first scenery you're looking at, and the first thing you notice is the awkward angle or this really uncommon feel. This is Netflix spot where they have this kind of interview setup, and this is your first lesson. As you noticed, we are pretty off center right now. Most of the time, you have an interview setup where one person just sits here in your thirds, looking one direction, and then for the wide shot, we are somewhere in the center frame. But that's pretty boring. What are wides for? Why do we do a wide angle shot? The reason for it is to show something. We as cinematographer, we want to tell people something with images. So this image alone gives away a lot of words he could even say. Because in this scenario, we already can see, okay, he likes medieval stuff like axes, swords, Game of Thrones like movies, and all that just with this camera angle. It's not important that he is off center because we actually light it that way that he's still the center of attention. The only thing that is getting a bit more attention, I think, is this thing, but I think it's okay because we get the brightest exposure on him. So our eyes always lead to the brightest part of the image. So there's no problem that he sits in the left corner of the image because our eyes will automatically go in his direction. How do we light a scene like this? I tell you always before, as a cinematographer, you walk into a room, analyze the light sources. As now we stand here in the room and now we can see, okay, there's a window here, there's a window here. So naturally, the light can only come from these two directions. And here is his bed and here is his desk. So naturally, we put him probably here because it's the most natural way where he can stand and get light from. Otherwise, it will always look lit. As a cinematographer, we try to accomplish always a natural look that the audience doesn't have the feeling, oh, there's actually a lamp inside that lights the character. So what we do for these kinds of scenarios, we put a frame, something like a butterfly, the diffusion. For the really poor people, we can use a shower curtain and on the sides on the window. So we get a nice even exposure on the window. Then we get a big light source. You can use something like a 600D, 300D, depends on your conditions. Is this here outside? Is there on the other side, the other room? It depends. Then what I did here, and I think it's really important, they shot a little bit on a 45-degree angle because this is not what makes the image interesting. Actually, this is what makes the image interesting. People all the time just light the actor, the people, but the room is also a character. You have to make more interest in that room. When we only have light on him, everything else here is pitch black. It wouldn't be that interesting. That's the reason always try to get a little bit of a light kick across the room. Then what I did next is put this window out of the context because they make it dark so we don't get cross-lighting. When we get cross-lighting on someone's face, it starts to look very natural. We lose a lot of depth and wouldn't get this nice contrast on his face because we want contrast. Contrast is cinematic. We like contrast. So try to remove most lights that counter each other. Then there's the standard drill. Try to make some interesting spots here and there. We have the practical here inside. We have the practical behind his head, which gives him also a nice separation from the background because he has really dark hair, and try to put something bright behind someone without, you don't have to light him. Just put something bright like here in my shot. We get separation without me getting a backlight. And also here they put some probably small aperture MCs making red colors and blast it into the scenery so that it just doesn't go pitch black. Sometimes it's okay to make something pitch black if you really want only to focus on this guy. But because we have so many interesting things here to see, why not show everything without it's getting distracting? I think that's a really cool and really nice look. Now we're going in for the close-up, and as you can see, we get this nice light rays from the window, and that's the reason we have a little bit of haze in the room. Haze makes every light source a little bit more visible, and that's how we get this nice light streaks. But you have to size up the source. A lot of people try to just put a hard light in here and hope for blinds, but it gets fast really distracting with a hard source. So we soften this a little bit up. You will still get this nice light rails, and in combination of that, you really get this nice soft key light on him. As you can see, the light is only coming from this direction, and so he is half lit, but he doesn't look like this side of the image is completely dark. The reason for it, we put on some fill light, but try to put the fill light just around here. There are two different ways you can do it. You can just use something like a softer light map, like in Godox, and just put it on 1, 2, 3%, just a little bit to fill in those shadows so that it's not that contrasty and still getting a natural look. Because what happens when you put the light on the other side of the camera, you will counter your main source and it will start to look uninteresting and uncomfortable, and the light doesn't land everywhere. Another thing we notice here is actually a hair light. It looks like a light is just above him. Sometimes for a close-up and a wide shot, you change the light a lot. But this is not a real interview setup, so they could easily use different lighting setups for the scenery. I think they added for the closer-up a little top shot that we get a little bit of hair light. As I said before, you get the separation from this light bar here in the background, which gives him a little bit glow around the shoulder. And that's actually it where they did finish a shot. They probably put also just a neck on here to control the contrast a little bit more. But most of the time, that's it. You look for a location where the light sources, extend them, control the light, that's done. Now most of your interview setups will look better than 90% of other interview setups, but you have to put also the people in an interesting place. You can do the same lighting setup in front of a white wall. It will look okay, but there's no interest, there's no story. Put your actor somewhere interesting, otherwise you can have the best lighting setup of the world, it wouldn't look as good. As you can see for this shot, he stood up, now he's in the center of the room, and now he didn't get any of the key light. He looks pretty dark and only a small top light gives him the key. So this is what I mean with you have to light natural. People tend to overlight things because now it wouldn't make any sense that you have also a strong key light on him because he is in front of the window. Because we saw a few seconds before here shouldn't be light on the side that hits him, so we get the most natural look. There are very often scenes in movies, a series, where the actors isn't actually lit because they light for this one scenery and then they stand up and move out of it. And then when he stands in a place where there is no light, it looks more natural. Where you don't have to light every single frame because it will start to look more unnatural. Best explanation for that are a lot of new Netflix movies where they light everything the same, so we have the most neutral image to work on something, but we don't want it. Try to make it as good as possible. Now we have this really cool studio setup where they gathered a band together and try to play some music, and I hate these kinds of locations because they're very small most of the time. You don't have much place to put a light on. Also, you have a lot of people in these scenarios, which doesn't help at all with the space. So what we do in a scenario like this, the only option we have is to light on top to get an even nice exposure on everyone. Because when you put a butterfly or something around here, like big light source, this wall starts to get bright. He would be much brighter than her. Then you have to put some nets in between to balance out the exposure. Too much work. We don't want to have much work. We want to make it easy and look cool. So we're doing a top light with probably a lantern on here. Then we flag the backside of the lantern away that we don't hit the wall as much, staying under contrast. And this light should light evenly everyone on here. Then we black out the front so that there's no bounce from the front. As you can see, this side of their face is pretty nearly black. We get a lot of contrast, but it helps the moody dark studio look. And to get a little bit of interesting color separation, they put a big cyan light with an aperture f22, an Astera, just put it on blue cyan, also top lights, and so your whole image doesn't look as washed out because we have a little bit of color contrast. Here's a close-up of the scenery where they clearly moved him to a better position, or they bring the lights a little bit down so that we get a little bit more wrap and also got the Astera more into the room and get a little bit of a bull. I think this is still on the other side, but we enhanced the cyan, they probably put the exposure on here up, that we get this nice color contrast. So if you enjoyed this video, I really would appreciate a subscription from you. My name is Marco Bagnoli and I'll see you next time.